On the Newman Jets Audio Network, this is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Ceiling and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Allstate Insurance Agent Mike Light, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
Episode 41 of the Jetcast, and if you're not aware, things have been just a little bit different this sports season, and that's put a lot of strain on everybody. Athletic departments, obviously, with fans not being in attendance, has strained athletic departments in other ways, but another strain on athletic departments is the fact that a lot of those fall sports that would be over and done with, well, they've been shifted to the spring, and that's a lot of extra time and effort and stress and articles for sports information. So we're joined here by sports information director and a former baseball player here at Newman, former pitcher Colin Lautenstock. Colin, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate you being here on the Jetcast.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Great to have you on. And Colin tried to avoid this for many weeks and months, but finally caught up to him here today. First of all, going back to your time here at Newman, how did you kind of get into your head that, like, boy, you know, I think sports information is something that I want to do? You came to us from Heston, is where you started your
Correct.
SID career. When did you pick this up that maybe you'd like to get into sports information? And what part about being an SID was the one that intrigued you the most?
So I was a sports comm major, and for my co-op, I did my internship with Dave Rung, who was the SID.
Sure, of course.
And so, I mean, just getting to sit there and watch all the basketball games and get paid for them. And,
yeah,
and
it's not a bad gig.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what appealed to me the most is, like, I get to watch sports all day. Like, how bad can that be? You know what I mean? So it's something that I enjoy, even though it's gotten really crazy this year.
Yeah.
But, I'm kind of in the same boat that Joanna's in.
Yeah.
I've never had a normal year yet because last year was my first year. So hopefully next year we can get that.
Yeah, I'd like to be back to normal too. Was there one specific part? Because I know that there are some guys who are in the SID business who they really like writing the articles. They like to write the stories. Some guys really like to make the graphics, take pictures. And then there's others that really like stats. They update the stats. They like keeping the stats during the game. What's your favorite part of being an SID?
Oh, man, that's tough. I want to say my favorite part is kind of the camaraderie with the other SIDs in the conference. Like, I feel like I can call up just about any one of them if I've got a question, and they'll provide me with what I need. And so I think that's been the biggest blessing for me so far in this position is, I mean, Ben DeShong down at Rogers State, if I've got any kind of question, I give him a call, and he'll usually have an answer, or he'll find an answer for me. So I'm not a big, like, stats person. Like, I'll look into stats and all that kind of stuff too, but there is some growth I can make in my graphic creation and learning in the Adobe stuff, and so that's one thing I was looking forward to last year at our SID convention. Was I was scheduled to take, I think, 3 Photoshop classes. And so I was going to learn all kinds of different stuff in there, but
I'm guessing that didn't happen.
So yeah.
So that's something that you'd like to grow moving into next year, is kind of the graphical presentation, because if that wasn't all enough, the SID typically in many sports information departments, not everyone, but in a lot of them, is also the guy who's in charge of the vast majority of the social media.
Correct.
And that is the case here at Newman. So if you see something out there with that hashtag that I tell you about during every basketball game on the audio network and baseball on the radio previously, hashtag Jet Power, when you see something out there with that, it's probably this guy or me, because I post a lot with that hashtag. But what's it been like for you to do that with social media, and how do you feel about the social media presence? Because under your leadership, there's been a lot of revamping of social media. Yeah. You guys have gotten new logos, new accounts. You changed a lot of the handles on Twitter. How do you feel like the Jets social media presence has been here in year 2 of your tenure?
That's one thing that we really tried to crack down on last year during the shutdown, was making everything more uniform throughout the whole organization, so that if you see a bowling post or you see a basketball post, you know that they're both from Newman University. That isn't something that had been done really in the past, and
right.
So I got a lot of the logins from all the coaches, and so now that we've got all that stuff, so that we can go change the social media profile pictures, and we can post stuff and all these other things, so that we make it all look very uniformed and like we're one big organization.
Well, and not only that, but how important is it just for discoverability? Because there were a lot of the social media handles maybe that weren't always, let's use a kind word and say intuitive to find on social media. And now, for the most part, except for I think Newman Wrestling, because of all the characters, it's not feasible to have Newman Jets. But for the most part, it's Newman Jets and then the 3-letter sport initials. So men's basketball is MBB, women's basketball is WBB. So it's a lot easier to find all this stuff on social media. And obviously you guys are trying to get your name out there in Wichita more than ever. How much do you think that your social media efforts have helped in that?
I think they've helped a lot. Our growth that we've had within our athletic department social medias is exponential. Like, we've had Clark over in University Relations say multiple times to us, hey, you guys are doing a great job over there. Like, your stuff's growing really fast. You're getting a lot of engagement. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And to go back to the handles, that was all, I mean, a lot of this is coming from, like, Zane and me get together. And
sure.
We spitball at each other. And I think one thing that we needed was just a way to let people find all of our social medias in one spot. So if they search Newman Jets, the first thing that pops up is the athletics and then all the sports underneath it. So, I mean, we were just trying to make it easier for everyone.
Now, you guys are mostly active on Twitter and Facebook, but you also have a YouTube channel, and where, as you know, if you're watching this, all the Jetcasts are now posted, and you get a lot of the post-game interviews when we're on the audio network for basketball, men's and women's, and we add other sports. They'll all be on there as well. What other social media, is there any other platforms that you've thought about that you think maybe in the future would be the next expansion, the next upgrade for social media that you'd like to get on?
We tried to make an emphasis this past basketball season with using Instagram a little bit more with the stories and all that stuff too. I know that our volleyball team has recently created a TikTok. I have not looked at that yet, but I want to say Jose posted something about it on their Twitter last week or the week before. So I could see a few sports going in that direction.
I have to say, you know, with Faith Mason Vestal wanting to become a TikTok star of women's basketball, maybe you got to bring her in on that for the women's basketball team next year.
Possibly, I'm sure we could get a few of them to run that.
Yeah,
page.
I feel like there's a few of them. Probably Bailey Hawkins, if she's still around. She and Faith would probably be good co-chairs of that department.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're busy every season, no matter if there's, you know, whatever sports are supposed to be playing. That's work enough if you're just doing baseball and softball, because there's a lot of times when you guys will have baseball and softball being hosted at the same time with how the MIAA does scheduling. How has it been for you to not just have that workload, but you've got men's soccer, which is actually playing games that count, and you still have to do administration, a lot of game day stuff for women's soccer and volleyball. So you're kind of spreading 5 sports and trying to scrunch them into 2 or 3 months here, and covering about 3 or 4 more sports than you normally do, because we still have golf going on and tennis and all that stuff. So how has that been for you and your sanity, trying to keep everything straight with all these sports that are going on that don't normally happen at this time of year?
Well, I think that's part of the reason why the MIAA made the decision they did with volleyball and women's soccer, was because they know that
you guys can only do so much.
Yeah, exactly. And with them not having an NCAA championship, they kind of just wanted to follow suit with that, and so it relieved some stress from us, but at the same time, like, we're still doing stuff for those games. So
yeah.
It's not quite as stressful, but it's a lot easier. But with, men's soccer, last weekend we had doubleheader Friday for baseball and softball, doubleheader Saturday for baseball and softball, plus we had men's soccer going, plus we had men's and women's tennis going.
Plus there was volleyball up at Topeka.
That is correct, and volleyball was playing. So, it was crazy weekend for scheduling all the social media posts and all that stuff. So, thankfully I got a GA that helps me out with a little bit of that. He'll usually make sure all the social media posts are ready to go.
We call him the brains of the operation.
Exactly. But it's kind of given me a taste of what a crossover season would really look like.
Sure.
Because other than last fall into winter, and then this
you guys, there is a crossover between basketball and baseball.
Oh, yeah.
There is definitely one. Obviously, the big crossover everybody thinks about is football into basketball. Obviously, Newman's not a football school. Hey, at some point, maybe it's got my attention, but obviously not anywhere close to that. But it is difficult getting over that crossover season. How do you keep your head above water and obviously still make time for you? Because if you guys know, if Newman's in session, Colin's at work. So weekends off are a real big luxury basically any time that school's in session. Yep. A weekend off is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Joe has been really good about allowing me to take days off throughout the week if I've worked a Saturday or whatever. So she's not been real picky about, hey, like, you got to be here this day.
Sure.
Because but that's really kind of helped, being able to take days off throughout the week.
Sure.
if I'm working a weekend or whatever. Also, they're pretty good about helping with things too. They see that it's been crazy. They knew, like, we all knew it was going to be crazy going into it, and so between Zane, Joe, Mo, and Zach, the GA over in athletics, they've been really helpful in helping me and Alex out and making sure that we've got what we need and really trying to be as big a help as they can.
Now, if you remember our Newman baseball radio broadcast, Loutensock might be a name that would be familiar to you, because I definitely remember calling your name a few times there when we were doing Newman Jets baseball on the radio. What's it like for you to now have as your direct supervisor, as the Associate Athletic Director of External Operations, Zane Ealing, your old baseball coach is now the guy that you kind of report to? How's that working out?
I think it's been good. We didn't really talk a whole lot when I was playing. I would more so talk with whoever our pitching coach was.
Sure.
But, we would still have conversations and stuff, but I think we've really kind of got to know each other, and we've kind of been able to bond over that.
Sure.
And laugh about memories and stuff that happened on bus trips or whatever. So
there were a lot of bus trips.
Yeah, yes, there were.
Definitely a lot of bus trips. Coming up here on the Jetcast, by the way, in a few minutes, we've got Sarra Gutknecht of women's soccer. She'll wrap up the show, but next we've got Olivia Parsley, outside hitter and defensive specialist, coming up. Final question for you here, Collin. So women's volleyball is up next. Final question for you. What are you looking forward to the most going into the fall season, and what is the major project that you have during the off season that that is going to require your attention once you get out of this spring sports craziness? Obviously, the figuring out what form the Jet Open is going to take is a department-wide effort. It's not not that fundraising is necessarily Colin's job, but everybody chips in on the Jet Open, and no announcements made on that yet because of the obvious reasons that you're aware of. But what are the big projects that you're looking forward to kind of working on this summer when things finally, mercifully slow down for you a little bit?
Our contract with Sidearm is actually up this summer, so that's something that I think is going to be the biggest project for me. Is we're probably going to be looking at revamping the website a little bit, because that's part of the deal. Website stuff's really what my summer consists of, building the rosters and the seasons and schedules and all that kind of stuff. So
pretty much all those player bios that you see typed out, typically it's probably you or the brains typing those in, right?
Yep, for the most part, yep.
Well, what's it like trying, and then the last thing, I know I said the last question was the last question, but when we do our audio network broadcasts of basketball, and we're hoping to add more sports here in the future, this is one of the guys that has to coordinate with me along with Coach Ealing in terms of getting those schedule on the website, getting me set up, figuring out what I need, getting me stats during the game. So how's that been going for you here these last 2 years, keeping me on the air?
It's not been too bad. Sidearm's pretty good at being pretty user-friendly with being able to create some of those streams and all that kind of stuff. So you can be honest just because I'm here. I mean, I have things that I ask for and that I need, and there are a lot of times when if there happens to be a technical problem before a game, normally I get this little device out and I call Collin. So that and he's already trying to do about a million other things during basketball, but I need to get us on the air and or on the internet, I guess in this case, and he has done a good job of when he needs to dropping everything and giving us his undivided attention. Yeah. No, I think a lot of it goes to sidearm. They're pretty good about answering phone calls.
I do agree.
And responding to emails very, very effectively and efficiently, which makes it a lot easier on us. And I think that's part of the reason why they do that is because they know that, I mean, a lot of times when we're calling them, it's because we've got a game going on and we need some troubleshooting done immediately. So I think that's probably where a lot of that comes from.
Colin Lautenstock, the Sports Information Director for the Newman University Athletics Department. If you would do him the big favor of putting NewmanJets.com as a favorite in your browser and following the Jets on social media and Twitter especially at Newman Jets, and go into that YouTube page and search for Newman Athletics and go ahead and make yourself a subscriber. And actually, if you want to just watch all the videos that are on that page too while you're there, I know Colin will really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Colin.
Yep, thanks, Blake.
We will be back with volleyball, talking with a freshman from Colorado, Olivia Parsley, when we return on the Jetcast.
Hi, I'm Alex Stevenson with South Central Sealing and Paving. We specialize in parking lot maintenance. We do asphalt repair, crack seal, seal coat, slurry seal, concrete repair, striping. Heck, I'll do anything for money. My dignity can be bought. Do property management, trash pickup, snow removal. My kids gotta eat. And hey, if you need any carpet or anything like that, call my dad, Jeff Stevenson, at Harry Street Carpet. You tell him I look better than him on camera, he'll give you a 20% discount. We're South Central Sealing. Let us fill the cracks in your asphalt.
Back here on the Jetcast, talking volleyball with an outside hitter and defensive specialist from Monument, Colorado. Another one of those fleet of freshmen on the Newman Jets volleyball team, with Coach Lugo looking to lead the Jets into the future. Olivia Parsley joins me here on the Jetcast. Olivia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Last time out for you guys, a couple of losses against Fort Hays State and Washburn. Washburn, if you're not aware, has been one of the premier volleyball teams in the entire country. They've been tremendous with Chris Heron there in Topeka. Fort Hays State was a close match, 3-1. What were your thoughts on how you played and how the team played up in those two matches? They played both of them at Lee Arena in Topeka, but what were your thoughts on how you guys did up in the capital city?
Fort Hays definitely is some of the best I have seen us play together as a team and people individually. It was a close one. It was a very tough loss for us, but it's the best our blockings have ever been. We were digging out of the gym. It's some of the best I've ever seen us play, and a couple bad calls shifted the game the wrong way, and it was a bummer, but I'm proud of how we played. Washburn, they're an amazing team. It's so fun just getting to watch them play. Getting to play against them, it's tough because you're doing all the right things, but they're doing all the right things a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough and a little sad.
They make it a little tough on you, don't they?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, MIAA is probably maybe the best sport that they have, and I know they just won the men's basketball national championship with Northwest Missouri State, but they might be even better at volleyball with more depth at the top. What's it like for you to be playing spring volleyball? I'm not familiar familiar with Colorado high school athletics, but I'm assuming that that's a fall sport in Colorado. So what's it like playing these meaningful? I'm sure you've probably played some club in the spring. I don't know if you're a multi-sport athlete or not in high school, but what's it like to be playing meaningful spring matches in volleyball?
It's really different. It's really weird. I'm really used to playing in the fall and having all my games done in the fall, but it's been fun to play in the spring. It's been a new experience. I don't know. It's been new, but fun, exciting, and adding on that it's the first college season of volleyball makes it a lot more interesting.
Well, I'm sure it'd been the first fall without volleyball in quite a while for you. What was that like?
Pretty boring.
I can imagine.
I felt like I had too much time on my hands. I was like, oh, no volleyball today? Okay. And then we get to spring where it's usually a slower pace. And now I'm like, let's go. And I'm like, okay, switching the seasons.
So a little too much study time in the fall then is what you're saying.
Just a little too much, yeah.
We're here with Olivia Parsley. Now, what's been the transition like for you? We talked about how strong the MIAA is, and jumping straight from high school into that is probably even another step in rather than going to junior college or maybe a lower level Division II conference. How do you think you have made that transition to the MIAA?
I think at first it was definitely a shock for me, and I was like blown out of the water. I was like, oh my goodness. But I think I've gotten more used to it, and we're a strong team too, and it's been nice working with all the girls and like seeing all the different talent that we have on the team and getting to learn from my teammates and learn from Jose. I think it's been so fun. It was a huge shock and like a huge change coming to, but I think I've really come up to the challenge, and it's been so much fun that I can imagine going to a different conference.
Now, we've talked with somebody with, I think it was a couple, maybe last Jetcast actually, it might have been women's soccer, but one of the coaches had mentioned how they didn't feel like they were really getting the chemistry or the camaraderie that they normally would. Because normally, you guys will go into somebody's room after the game, you guys will hang out, you guys, have camaraderie, maybe you'll go out to eat together, and because of everything that we're dealing with, a lot of those things that would be normal college freshmen, college athlete type of things have not been as permissible as maybe they would be in normal times. How do you feel like your camaraderie and chemistry is building with your fellow freshmen, and there's a lot of you on this team, and with the other upperclassmen as well?
I think it's not as strong as it would be in the past.
Sure, of course.
But there's 7 of us freshmen, and 6 of us live in the dorms, so it's been nice having all, like, the 6 of us there. Like, we've all gotten pretty close, and then I've gotten closer to the freshmen off campus because we have classes together, so, like, that's easier. For the upperclassmen, that one has been a little different. It's because, there's the ones that live on campus, so you see them sometimes, but the ones that live off, you only see them for practice, and a lot of them only have online classes, so you'd never see them on campus.
Sure.
So I feel like I'm definitely not as close as I could be with some of the upperclassmen, but it's the times, I guess.
Yeah, and hopefully we're on the tail end of those times.
Yes.
I guess time will tell on that. One other thing that you guys that sometimes will build team chemistry and camaraderie is overnight road trips. You guys don't really get many of those. Obviously, a lot less for the Jets now than versus when they were in the Heartland Conference, when there were some long overnight road trips. But it looks like you guys may have had one when you went to Emporia State than Central Missouri. But
yes.
You've got this one coming up, Pittsburgh State and then Missouri Southern. So that'll be an opportunity to kind of bond together.
Yes, it will.
235 kills as a senior for you in high school in 2019, hitting 141. It was a massive improvement for you over your junior season. What do you feel like led to your offensive improvement going into your senior season of high school volleyball, and how do you bring that forward with you here to the Jets when you guys start playing those meaningful matches coming up this fall?
Well, the transition from my junior to senior year, I took the step from transitioning from libero to actually being a hitter again. And so I really took the time and effort to like go and like make my role on that team like a big one, I guess. And transitioning that into like college ball, and next year with meaningful matches, like just going to the gym, working hard every day, like trying to find like the little things that work for every team, because for some teams it's hitting the line ball works, but other teams, like, that ball's going to get dug or blocked all day, every day. So working on different shots, knowing what shots are open, and becoming like a smarter volleyball player.
Now, there are not a lot of players that are listed as an outside hitter and a defensive specialist. That's very unique. How did you get to playing both sides? And obviously, starting out as a libero in high school, that would certainly help with that.
Playing both sides, I was always an outside hitter for club, and I loved it. But in high school, I was always told I was too short to do anything with it. So they put me as a DS libero. So I had to, like, focus on both ends of it. Like, for club, I was hitting. For high school, I was passing. And then we got a new coach for high school, and he saw me in club hitting. So he was like, I want to transition you back to a hitter. So it's kind of like I still have the technical aspects of being that libero DS. So coming in, I have that background.
Sure.
So I split it and now can be both, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I think Coach Lugo, and you're the second freshman that we've had on. I believe we had Miss Romp on earlier in the season. You said that you celebrated a birthday over the weekend.
I did.
I hope it was a good one.
It was.
Did your team do anything special for you?
Let's see. Well, we had a game on Saturday.
Correct.
And that was our other teammate's birthday. So it's kind of like we were all, like, there for her and everything. And then her and I had, like, a little, like, not like party, but, like, we were like, hey, like, we're just hanging out tonight if y'all want to come hang out with us. And then Sunday was my actual birthday, and I was like, I'm just going to have a me day.
Okay.
So, like, they let me have a me day, and we're like, enjoy your day.
No problem with that at all. Well, what are you looking forward to seeing the most once restrictions are lifted? What's the one thing that you can't wait to be able to do again?
Honestly, go out and, like, do stuff. Like, that sounds weird, and it's not, like, going out, but, like, going to, like, an amusement park or something, like, not having to have a mask on, or, like, just going to the grocery store and not having a mask on and being like, oh, I left that in my car, let me go back and get
going
that.
to a concert, maybe a Jets basketball game, and just sitting next to each other. Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it too, I'll tell you that. Jets, all right, Pitt State Friday, Missouri Southern Saturday, and I know that you guys for sure have played Pitt State. I think you've played both of these teams before this year, and I remember in the Pitt State match, it didn't start so well, but you guys got better as the match progressed.
Yes.
And you lost that third set, but it was a very competitive third set. How do you turn that around this time against the Gorillas and Lions and get off to a better start?
I think now we know what to expect with them. We know what they're going to do. We know what their tendencies are. We know how they play. And we can now use that to our advantage to know what we need to do to stop them and to make plays on them. And I think we just need to use what we've learned from losing against them to help us win.
Olivia Parsley out of Monument, Colorado, freshman outside hitter, defensive specialist, and this past weekend, the birthday girl. The Jets are taking on Pittsburgh State on Friday and the Lions in Joplin from Missouri Southern on Saturday. Good luck in those games. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
We will wrap up with women's soccer, talking defense next on the Jetcast.
Fact is, every insurance company hopes you drive safely. But Allstate actually helps you drive safely with DriveWise. It lets you know when you go too fast and brake too hard, with feedback to help you drive safer, giving you the power to actually lower your cost. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about that. Now that you know the truth, are you in good hands?
Check out your Allstate agent here in Wichita, Mike Light, at 316-684-0121. Advanced Orthopedic Associates and Dr. Brendan Lucas are proud supporters of Newman Athletics. Thank you to Donlinger Construction, proud supporter of Newman Athletics.
Wrapping up the Jetcast, heading out to the soccer pitch with Sarra Guteknecht, a junior defender from Rapid City, South Dakota. 19 appearances last year with 18 starts, blocking over 1,700 minutes. The Jets went 7-6-6 all the way back in 2019. Obviously, no 2020 season. NU is 1-2-2 in this spring season. They are hosting the Lopers of Nebraska Kearney 2 p.m. on Thursday at the Stryker Soccer Complex. Sarra Gutenegg joins me here to wrap up this edition of the Jetcast. Sarra, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
1-1 draw last time against Washburn, so a tie, another low-scoring game. What were your thoughts on the matchup against the Washburn Ichabods?
Our first half was kind of rough, but we learned from it, and then we changed our formation, and we kind of got our stuff together for second half, and second half was a lot better. We allowed an early goal in the first half. It was just a couple mistakes that led up to just an easy goal, and then we fought really hard in the second half, and we had a ton of chances, and we at least were able to put one away and hold them off for the rest of the second half.
Yeah, Washburn scored 25 minutes into that match. Obviously, you are on the defensive side of the ball, so it's your job to make sure that doesn't happen. As a defensive unit, and obviously, we talked about this with Coach a couple of weeks ago, that it's not about the offense is only in charge of the offense and the defense only cares about defense. All 11 on the pitch care about winning the game, but in the defensive unit, how do you guys kind of rebound and mentally overcome that when you do give up an early goal?
When that happens, the only thing you can do is just learn from the mistake and keep going and know, hey, there's still so much time left for us to score. Fix your mistake, learn from it, and just make sure it doesn't happen again.
Kyrah Butler had the equalizer in the second half of that match. How exciting was that to go in, and how good of a view did you have of that?
I had a pretty good view. It was really exciting. Kyrah is our center back, so I always get super excited when one of the defenders scores just because it's fun.
Oh, of course. Yeah, just like a goalie scoring in hockey, right?
Of course.
And then what you may not have realized if you looked at this on some of the score sheets, this actually went to double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. How long and grueling is that, playing a couple of extra sessions? How long do you guys play overtime in college soccer?
So overtime, how it works in college soccer is it's golden goal, and
which is how it should be everywhere. Don't let anybody at the World Cup tell you differently. It's how it should be everywhere.
And it's 2 10-minute periods, or halves, I guess. So you play for 10 minutes, no one scores, you get a couple-minute break, and then you play another 10 minutes. If no one scores, then it's over, unless it's, of course, a championship game.
And then obviously you'd go to penalty kicks at that point, just like they would at the World Cup. No standings or championships this year. And once again, if you're just joining us or you're wondering, like, gosh, we've heard so much about the men playing in the Great American Conference. Why is that? The MIAA decided that they were not going to administer a championship for women's soccer this year, but the Great American Conference made an independent decision that they were going to have a men's soccer season. So, you can ask one of those conference presidents why that's happening. How disappointing was it for you to have a season here with no real standings and no championships to play for?
It definitely sucks, but at least we...
Very honest opinion.
At least we still get a season, though. I'm just grateful that we even get to play because, obviously in the fall we didn't get to. So as much as I wish we did have a championship season, still trying to make the best out of it.
Now, you and I were talking here before we started, and, I mentioned you guys on the defensive line, and like I said, not that it's just about the defenders in terms of keeping the ball out of the net, but you guys are kind of killing it right now. You've allowed 3 goals in 5 matches. What is making your defense so good right now?
I think, there's a lot of chemistry between us. A lot of us had played together before, and it's a lot of mentality, too. We don't want the ball to go in the back of the net, so we'll do pretty much anything to make that not happen. And I think there's a lot of communication between us, and I think, honestly, that's probably it. And the whole team works defensively, too. It's not just the back four. The midfielders work defensively. Our forwards work defensively, so that makes our job a lot easier as well.
Now, you have kind of bridged the gap between the Heartland Conference and the MIAA, and we've talked about how difficult that transition was, and obviously you had to make another transition with the head coach because Coach Avila was obviously a very successful head coach in his 1 year in the MIAA and his last year in the Heartland Conference. But, boy, Coach Holmes has got you guys playing really, really well defensively right now. What's it been like to make that transition?
There's been a lot of learning, but it's been fun. There's just been, like you said, a lot of transitions between the past couple of years, but they're welcome transitions, and it's been fun getting to know Coach Holmes and everything, and it's been really fun.
What have you been working on in your game personally to try to get yourself better to help the team?
In the air, for sure. being 5'3", it's not really great against 6 foot tall strikers.
Sure.
But
so what do you mean by that? We don't necessarily think of soccer. When we watch basketball, sure, there's a lot of air play, and certainly there's headers and things. But when you talk about working on your air game, what do you mean by that in a soccer perspective?
I mean, the reality of me jumping over someone who's 6'2" is not that great. So just working on my positioning to win second balls and trying to get the second balls more so. And if I can, trying to win the first ball if it's right there, if I'm against someone that's about the same height. But so a lot of it's positioning and, like I said earlier, mentality on just trying to do anything to get the ball when it does come to me.
Now you've got Nebraska Kearney coming up on Thursday. The Lopers are 0-2 on the season. What are you expecting to see out of Nebraska Kearney?
I'm sure it'll be a tough game, just like anything is, but I'm not really sure what to expect. Their team, I think, changes a lot every year. I know one girl who played in Rapid who's on the team, but I think she's a forward. She's fast, but other than that, I'm not really sure what to expect out of them.
Once again, that's Sarra Gutknecht. Women's soccer team is back in action on Thursday, 2 o'clock, and the kickoff is at the Stryker Soccer Complex here in Wichita. Sarra, good luck. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
We will be back next week with another Jetcast, and once again, we want to remind you we've got our first Newman Jet Audio Network baseball broadcast coming up on Friday, 2 o'clock against Emporia State, so be sure you tune in for that. So until then, Blake Cripps saying, Go Jets.